station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is station. We are ready for the event.
WBOI Radio, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is WBOI Radio. How do you hear me?
WBOI in Fort Wayne, I think. We hear you loud and clear. How do you hear me on board the International Space Station?
Loud and clear. You guys sound great. All right. Commander Kevin Ford and Flight Engineer Tom Marshburn, thanks very much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Great to have you on board. Tom and I have put in almost a full day already of work, and we get to take a little time out once in a while and talk to folks on the ground. So it's great to be with you. We're here in the Destiny Laboratory and doing various kinds of things today. Some science going on and some maintenance going on, and we're happy to take any kind of questions you might have about what we're doing up here.
Well, Commander Ford, let's start with you. Tell us about the mission of Expedition 34. What are you and Engineer Marshburn doing up there?
Well, the whole purpose of the space station has always been to do as much science as we can. The microgravity environment, really zero gravity, if you will, it's a very unique environment to do things that scientists, in many cases, can only imagine doing on Earth. Science with fluids, for example, fluid dynamics, looking at bubble dynamics, doing studies on the way bones lose and construct their mass. We do some of that right now in the Japanese laboratory. We can use this as a test bed for spacecraft development. We've just been doing some stuff with robotically refueling spacecraft using spaceships that might fly up to a satellite that's already in orbit and refuel those. And we have lots of experiments on the outside looking at the universe, also looking nadir toward the ground, looking at the Earth that we aren't involved in. But on the inside, there are also hundreds of experiments that we are involved in every day. Combustion in the zero gravity environment and material science going on right above our head literally today. So just a lot of things that scientists want to do in this low gravity environment, and we're up here to do it for them.
Certainly no shortage of science to be done on the station up there. It sounds terribly exciting. Engineer Tom Marshburn, I want to bring you in. Can you tell us a little bit about daily life on the ISS?
Well, we've come a long way in our space program. The daily life is nice. Obviously, we're isolated up here in our space station. However, we've got great food. We've got plenty to drink and lots of busy work, or good work to keep us busy. And that's really great for keeping mental health as well. So we have a little bit of time off. When we do have some time, we'll look out the window. And that's usually how we spend our free time, take a lot of photographs. The view of the Earth obviously is just stunning, and it completely captures our attention whenever we have a free moment.
You guys have any culinary favorites on the menu? Maybe special dishes that you'd prefer over certain others?
Well, one thing we prefer is fresh food. We miss it a bit because we don't have any, except when your cargo vehicle arrives. And so we just got some fresh apples today. We've each enjoyed one of those. Other than that, tortillas are a favorite item. Put anything on it you want. My personal favorite is beef brisket, but there's all kinds of stuff up here. We also get some food supplied from the Russian side, and we've enjoyed that as well.
A lot of us have, I think, this romantic idea about space flight. It's one of those jobs, we dream of as kids growing up. I certainly did. But I know you guys go through years of training before ever making it into space, but is that sense of wonder still a part of the job? Are there still good surprises that you find in day-to-day life up there?
Well, the sense of wonder, I think, is even increased when you get up here. I remember the first time I reached orbit in a space shuttle, and the first thing I thought of, I was a pilot for Discovery and very busy with all my technical duties. And as soon as we got to main engine cutoff and we were in orbit and at 0 G, I absolutely could not believe what we had just done. I just thought the engineers who designed this really pulled this off, because you know it happens. You read about it, you see it on film and so forth. But when you really do it yourself, you really can't believe that you were just accelerated to 17,500 miles an hour, and you're suspended in a microgravity, and you're orbiting the Earth, and you can see it all down below you. So the wonder is only increased. The realism, though, is something that from day to day, things like the hygiene that you have to do in space, working in space, working in all corners, working in a closed environment, and having to really maintain the systems you have with help from the ground, of course, huge help from the ground instruction, but having to put your hands on everything to keep the ship running, and just working in this it is a difficult environment to work in. The training to get here is also very difficult. So all along the way, you do put in some blood, sweat, and tears to get here, but it's doubly worth it when you get here and really get to see what living in space is like.
Commander Kevin Ford, you're a Hoosier boy and part of a long line of Hoosiers and Midwesterners who have helped kind of build and expand our knowledge of space. I have to ask, do you think your roots in this part of the country helped you get excited about space or helped to get you ready for this type of work?
Well, I think so. There were a few things in my family history that struck my interest in aviation, for example, and looking skyward. The kinds of stuff my brothers were interested in is kind of what got me interested also. But I think we have a lot of technical history in Indiana. A lot of astronauts, for example, went to Purdue. When people hear that I'm from Indiana and that I'm an astronaut, they go, "Oh, you went to Purdue." And I went to Notre Dame myself, but Purdue has this very rich history. And I just think that part of the country, the work ethic and the study, and perhaps it's the Midwestern education that inspired me. So I think that was all really strong and kind of maybe is what took me down this path. So I still see it strong today. I know education is just a really big focus for Indiana, for the legislature down in Indianapolis, and it's really a wonderful part of our Hoosier state.
At station, this is Houston ACR. We lost that client. Please stand by. We're going to reconnect their phone line.
Okay, copy that. No problem.
And station, this is Houston ACR. We'll try to reestablish that first client. We're going to pass you over now to News 14 Carolina. Please stand by for a voice check from them.
Okay, going over to News 14. Copy that.
Station, this is Sean Flynn with News 14 Carolina. Can you hear me?
Read you loud and clear. This is Tom Marshburn and Kevin Ford.
Excellent. Welcome, gentlemen. First, Commander Ford, you've been there since October. Dr. Marshburn, you arrived in December. How are both of you adjusting to your time in space, and are you getting used to the sun rising and setting 16 times a day?
Well, Commander Ford's been here a couple of months before we arrived, but I think Chris Hadfield and myself are adapting quite well. It takes the body about a month to get used to the zero gravity, I'd say. And about that long, maybe a little longer, to get used to the station environment, where everything's located and how the operations run. Despite all the training, the reality is always offers lots of new things, new opportunities, a lot of things to learn. But we're in full force now and getting a lot of work done, and we're really happy up here.
For both of you, your previous experience in space was measured in hours. Now we're talking months. What's the biggest difference, and how are your bodies holding up?
Well, I've been here about 110 days now, and it is a completely different experience, no doubt about it. The space shuttle flight was trained for and very well choreographed before you come. There are hopefully few surprises on a 14-week shuttle flight, Almost every procedure I ran, I had run before in simulations, and I had made notes in those procedures about what I was going to do. And up on space station, day-to-day life and week to week can be very different, very surprising. You really never know what's coming your way in terms of, maybe systems malfunctions and fixing things up and that sort of thing. So it's a different kind of mindset coming up here for a long duration flight. And then, of course, just living here, when you set up camp, it's not a temporary sleeping bag. You're gonna be here for months on end, and you got to make yourself comfortable. Learn to do things efficiently. I'm still learning things. Tom and Chris are teaching me things in the spacecraft to make my days and life more efficient. And it's just kind of a chance to really learn to live in space. And you really do adapt to the different dimensions. For a while, you start to try to look at things in 3 dimensions and find new ways to do things. And then after a while, you just automatically do after a few months. So it's a very interesting thing to do. It's a very strange and novel environment, but one I loved spending time in.
Well, I see you guys are tossing that apple around. You had a resupply ship land there yesterday with 3 tons of supplies. Any specific thing you were on there you were looking forward to most?
Well, it is full of hardware. There are a lot of important things that are going to keep our vital, the station's vital functions going, but also experimental hardware. We're always excited about that when that comes up. There's a lot of work to be done. And in some ways, the space station is an assembly line. Some things come up. We work with the experimental hardware, with materials and such that come up, and then we were able to bring it back down on our Soyuz. So we were able to get a rapid turnaround of experimental results, and that's exciting. We probably each have a little bit of bonus food, a little bit of extra food that we like on there, and as you saw, just a little bit of fresh fruit that they throw in the hatch right before it launches, and so we get to enjoy that, and that's very special.
Dr. Marshburn, we're monitoring your Twitter feed. You are seriously in the Twitterverse. You've taken some beautiful pictures up there, including the North Carolina mountains and the Outer Banks. What has been your favorite part, and have you been able to identify your hometown of Statesville or Davidson College, where you got your physics degree, or Wake Forest, where you got your doctorate in medicine?
Well, the southeast United States is very unique, and where I grew up in North Carolina, and where you live now is a very unique place on the planet. And one of the nice things about it is it's so green and so verdant there, even in the wintertime. That's a little bit hard to pick out the cities. I have seen Charlotte. I have seen the surrounding area. And I'm going to try to get a picture at night so I can say that I can pinpoint it exactly. But it's a beautiful place there, and we love to catch it as we go across the Piedmont area. It's a little bit more rare than I ever realized before. It goes by fast when we cross it, as on our orbital track. But we all have our favorite spots. I love mountains. I love the southern part of South America, the Patagonian Mountains and the Himalayas when we go across there. But it's supposed that we all have our favorite spots that we love to look at.
I only wish I could get some of those, get a view of that. Our parent company, Time Warner Cable, is heavily involved in the Connect a Million Minds movement. Basically, we're trying to get more kids involved in science, technology, and math. How critical were these areas of study for getting you where you are today?
Well, one thing astronauts frequently tell students, and it's a very true statement, is first of all, you fall in love with something. And studying hard and taking a wide breadth of types of courses helps you in that regard. If you're curious, if you fall in love with something, then I would use the time in school to get really good at learning how to learn, and learning how to learn anything, but particularly the subject that you love. And if you love it, you'll do well in it. But maintaining a high level of curiosity, doing as well as you can in school so that you have the tools you need, then you're on your road to becoming an astronaut if that's what you want to be. Up here, we're learning every day. It's a skill that never goes away, particularly in this type of job. So I highly encourage students to fall in love with something, look around, and then get really good at learning how to learn.
And this question is for one or both of you. This mission is being called a beehive of activity. Can you explain some of the experiments you're conducting so that we can understand it and how they impact us down here?
Well, yesterday I did an experiment called capillary flow experiment. We just call it CFE for short because we love acronyms at NASA. And this experiment is looking at different kinds of vessels and how best to control fluid in a vessel with a particular emphasis on bubbles and how bubbles move around. I don't know if perhaps you've been in a hospital environment or a doctor's office and you've seen maybe the doctor or nurse trying to flick a bubble out the end before they hook it up and give you an IV or give you a shot or something like that. And we have the same problem in fuel tanks, for example, and spacecraft. And you might have these same kinds of problems in water lines and pumps on the ground. And pumps don't like to mix water and air. They like just pumping, or fluid and air. They like to just pump their fluid. So this is a particular area of study that's been troublesome for engineers for a long time. And we did that. I spent the afternoon yesterday working an experiment with some scientists in Portland, Oregon, who are focusing on this. And because you can look at it in the microgravity environment, you can look at bigger bubbles and how these move around. And it's very, very interesting, extremely interesting. We're able to control these things and move them to where we want. So that's a big advance. When I first arrived, I did some work with some fish called Medaka that have bone structure that's just like mammals. And they can look at the way the bone is created and destroyed, the osteoclasts and osteoblasts, and learn a lot about what happens to us in space when our bones are unloaded for long periods of time, and take this research back and maybe at some point eliminate something like osteoporosis sometime down the line. It would be a huge advance, of course, for so many people who suffer from that as elderly. So those are things we do weekly. I'll let Tom talk about a few others.
Yeah, we could keep on going and take up all the time with this. There are over 130 experiments going on, some of which we're involved in, some of which are going on to control from the ground or just even automatically. I've been involved in some medical experiments as well. We've been using ultrasound to look at the ways in which the body changes here in zero gravity. Ultrasound obviously is not new, but we're using it in ways that it's not used on the ground. And as it turns out, it has a lot of applications in medicine, terrestrial medicine, particularly in areas that are generally underserved. And so it's been expanding medical care in underserved areas as well.
Very good. And how are the fish holding up?
Well, that's a great question. All the fish have gone to science now. So they all launched on my Soyuz, actually. There were 3 crew members, 2 cosmonauts, Oleg and Yevgeny, and myself on board a Soyuz that launched back in October, and 32 of these Medaka fish. And at various stages in their lives and development, we fixed them, and they're ready for science now. So they'll go home with us as well, but as frozen fish. And they'll look at how their bone was at the time that they were fixed. So that's the way this experiment works. And like I say, it's just got so much potential to tell us a lot about bone loss and degradation.
Very good. They gave their lives for science. Commander Ford, your time on the space station is up next month. Dr. Marshburn, you're coming home in May. What will you miss most when you come home, and what are you most looking forward to when you get back on terra firma?
So I'd say we all miss those we love the most and our friends. But besides that, I'll be looking forward to a hot shower, some running water, feeling the wind, and maybe the grass or the sand on my feet. And after that, some fresh food would be great. Kevin?
And I'll just add, we do live in a beautiful space station. It's about the interior volume of a 747. But try spending 4 months in a 747 sometime. So we love it. It's a very, very special thing to get to do. But I'm an outdoorsy kind of guy. So I love being outside playing golf and going out for a run in my neighborhood in Seabrook, Texas right now. And so I'm looking forward to some time outside. And like Tom said, seeing wildlife again, smelling grass, and just really enjoying the planet. Because as beautiful as it is here, really, you live on the best spaceship that is the planet Earth. So I'm looking forward to getting back and learning to live on Earth again.
All right, Commander Ford, Dr. Marshburn, thank you so much for joining us. And Dr. Marshburn, when you get back down here, we definitely want to catch up when you come back home to visit North Carolina.
I can't wait. Looking forward to it very much. Thanks for this chance to talk to you.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you, WBOI Radio and News 14
Okay, copy.
Carolina.
Thanks very much.
Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.